And we return to our story on Libya. Now we're joined in the studio by African Affairs analyst Jermaine Sanwoolu to discuss this issue. Thank you for joining us on TVC News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the leader of the government has arrived, but ahead of his arrival, recall that there were, there was unrest in Libya, particularly gunshots were heard over Tripoli. Does this confirm the uncertainty on the unity deal brokered by the United Nations months ahead of his arrival?
Well, it confirms that in a way because Libya is in a state of a crisis right now, as you know, and the people who actually are leading in Tripoli and those in Turak, they have various kind of ideologies. But having spent some time in Tunisia, I think in September or so, is a good thing to happen to the country. But many of them see him as an interloper. They see him as an outsider backed by the Western government to come and impose their own form of democracy in their land, and they don't really want that. But I'm sure that with the goodwill that he possesses as a person, and also the backing of the EU and the United States of America, I'm sure he has a lot to offer, and this will be a time of change in that nation.
Seeing as there is an issue of trust now and, well, more or less believability, what should be his first assignment?
Well, I think unifying the people, telling them, building patriotism within them, and telling them that they, as I said, is a salvation government, a unity government, trying to bring everybody together, trying to dialogue and negotiate between the two warring parties and make them, come together and see how they can actually rule their land. Because Libya was a very, very prosperous nation. It was, like one of the golden apple in Africa. A lot of things were happening there, but all of a sudden, when Muammar Gaddafi was taken out in 2011, things changed. So I believe Libya can come back to its place of dominance in the African community, but he has to actually come to start uniting people. That will be his first task.
And not forgetting that ahead of his arrival, the ISIL has had a foothold in Libya, and only recently the UN Secretary General was saying that the international community must not underestimate ISIL in Libya. Now, does this man possess what it takes to tackle, besides all other national challenges in that country, the problem of ISIL's terrorism?
Well, I believe he should possess, and if he doesn't, it's time for him to get going, because it's a very, very critical time. International security is at stake. Libya is just like 200 kilometers away from Europe, and across the sea, and they have to ensure that that place is actually guarded well. It's secure, and ISIL groups do not have control there. Because just in 2014, they had over 300,000, illegal migrants enter Italy alone. So you can see that influx of people. And just 2 days ago, I think on Wednesday, what actually happened? They had the Libyan coastal guard stopped 152 people crossing in 2 boats. So you can see ISIL can easily just enter Europe. And we know the disaster they've been causing in Belgium, in Paris, and we don't want that to permeate throughout the whole world. So Libya's gate has to be well manned, and him as a leader has to actually do it with credibility and also with uniting the whole country to do that.
All right, so the United Nations is proposing sanctions for those who scuttle this transition period. It's also considering military action on the IS group. What's the wisdom in all of this at a time like now?
War never pays, you understand? So I believe the UN and also the United States has to actually look for ways of dialoguing, more than just going there with boots on ground or drones to try and attack. We've known from times past in Iraq, and around the world, that if you just go there invading them, it will just build up this kind of evil sentiment against the Western world, and will lead to more perpetration of hideous acts by the IC group. So I believe they need to negotiate. He has to come there as a unifier. And also, I think the EU actually has made a pledge of 100 million euros to actually help support that country. So pumping money there, having infrastructural developments, settling all the rival groups, and ensuring that they see that this is their own country, they have a stake in the growth and development of the country. I believe that's the best way to go. Boots on ground will not really be the solution at this point in time. He has to be a negotiator, a diplomatic one for that matter.
And does it matter that, the people's views, what they wanted wasn't particularly contained in the unity deal ahead of his arrival.
No, that's another thing, you know. It does matter, and that's why you have to have what they call local intelligence. You can't just bring someone from outside and bring him inside. But even if you do that, you have to have ears and hands on ground that understand the people and their needs. But, you know, they might have done that just as a makeshift, but I'm sure when he comes into power now, he's going to start looking to try to mediate, to try and see how he can actually meet the needs of the average Libyan there, and he essentially does that. That is the only way he can guarantee success for himself and also for the nation.
All right. Well, finally, though, does it appear that he was the best choice for Libya, modern-day Libya now?
Well, it may not pay. Some may say he's the best choice, some may say, you know, as I said earlier, that people see him as an interloper, as an outsider, as someone who has Western interest. But I believe at this point in time, he's the best man for the job at the moment. And he does have to work with him, and he has to work with them most importantly. Because Libya, you know, they had a leader. Would you say Gaddafi was the best leader? But he kept that country together. So they need a strong personality, someone who can actually drive change and drive up, you know, patriotism and say, let's build Libya again. So there are various views, but I believe the UN and America have come together, and let's accept that as he's the best person, you know, to safeguard that place for now.
All right, Jermaine, Sanwoolu, many thanks for your analysis of the developments in Libya.